Welcome again to our recorded tutorial. So our topic is relational database. So this is part 1. Okay. Okay, so let us first discuss the flat file versus a database system. Majority of the old information system are employing a flat file approach in managing the data. So one example of flat file system is your file in your Excel, your file in your Microsoft Word. So in this setting, the user have exclusive ownership of their data files. Exclusive ownership means they are the owner, the one who made that file. They have the ability to update it, to change it, or to delete it. Okay, and then if they want to share it, they can share also to the other people. So this setup may result in the following problems. It inhibits the entity-wide integration of data, meaning there is no proper integrating of data. So if you are using the file of supplier and then you want to share it to the warehouse department, so there is a tendency that the warehouse department will encode it again to their system. Okay, and there is no integration really, no. So we will put it again on their system, and whatever, if there are some changes on that file, so they cannot automatically update it, or if they can update it, but that is not already consistent with the original file. So it requires data files to be structured to the unique needs of the primary users. And then some data, thus the same data used in slightly different ways by different users may need to be restructured and reproduced physically in different files. So it depends upon the owner how they will present the data, and then if the owner will give it to the other people, and then let's say give it to the accounting department, give it to the HR department, and then they want to change it, so they can change it. So there's no it is restructured physically into different files specific to the needs of the user. So this is a flat file system. So if you can see, the data are separated. So we have data A, B, and C, which is used by program 1, and then different user 1 transactions. Say this is payroll. Okay, payroll. So they use different. And then user 2 is, say, accounting. Okay, so they use also XBY data. And the other user 3, say this is, let's say this is HR department. Okay, so they have different data. Okay, so the letters represent a single data, the attributes, the field, the record, or the entire file. So if you observe, data B is presented in all figures. Diba? Data B is here also, and also here. Okay? So, if ever somebody update data B, they need to update, for example, HR updated data B. They need to call the accounting that they will also update data B. And of course, the payroll that they will also need to update data B. So that's a flat file system. There are 3 types of data management problems caused by data redundancy. So first is data storage, data updating, the currency of information, and the fourth problem is the task data dependency. No, they are not directly related to data redundancy. Okay, which is the fourth. So yung regarding data redundancy, the three problems, the data storage, updating, and the currency of information, like what we have seen in previous illustration. So if user 1 or user 3 updated data B. So there is no proper integration of the data since they are using a flat file system. So for user 1 or user 2, in the accounting or in the payroll, the data of B is not already updated, and that is not already a current information. And the other problem is task data dependency. No? So there is no dependency of data because they have different data stored in their computer. So an efficient information system captures and stores data only once. So this data must be stored in central storage and must be available to all users who need it. However, this structure is not possible in a flat file system because the flat file needs multiple storage, and then of course it meets the individual data needs of users, no? So it has multiple storage, which means high cost to the organization. But this is commonly used. Even nowadays, they are duplicated. There are dozens, hundreds, thousands of times of data, which create highly storage, but they are still using the flat file system. Although, yeah, this is really costly. And then, of course, there is data redundancy, and it is cost, and there is also time constraints when you are using a data file system. Okay. Next, data updating. When data is stored in a multiple storage, a problem arises if one user updates the data. So, as I mentioned kanina, so for example, user 1, which is the payroll, and then the user 2, which is the accounting, and then user 3, which is the HR, no? So for example, user 1, the payroll, updates the data B. User 2 and 3 also should also update the same, which I mentioned kanina, no? These multiple updates are an additional cost of data management since you are paying the employee, so it is time consuming. So you are paying their daily time records, diba? So it's really costly in terms of the salary and in terms also of the time. So you are not managing it efficiently. So using a flat file system. And also currency of information. This is also another problem because there are multiple storage. Creates another problem when one user failed to update the data. So if user 1 was unable to notify the users about the update he made to data B, the 2 user might not record the change, and the data of user 2 and 3 is not the current data and will make decision based on updated data. Okay. The fourth problem, which is task dependency. So the user's inability to obtain additional information as his or her needs change. This problem is called task data dependency. So they are constrained by the data that he or she possesses and controls. For example, in this illustration, so for user 1, if user 1 changed the data, user 1 program would not have access to this data, no? So although data L, no? If they want to change the data L, see here, no, for user 1. So wala siyang access on data L. So because it exists on another user. So there is the environment, they are not interacting with each other user community. So they are dependent. So as such, user 1 may be unaware of the presence of data L elsewhere in the organization. So in this environment, it is difficult to establish a mechanism for the formal sharing of data. So therefore, data L would need to be recreated from scratch. Okay, so this will take time. And of course, the performance of that user will medyo hindi siya makaperform well. And then, of course, there is also data redundancy, and the cost of the data management will become higher. So the solution is a database. So figure 2 shows the database approach of data management with the same users and data requirements as in the flat file method. This is the most apparent innovation from the flat file approach because there is pooling of data into a common database that is shared by all users. So somebody update on L, so everyone will have the currency of information. Every users have also the correct updated data. Okay, so kaya mas advantage no si data approach. So what are the advantages of the database approach? The database technology is used by almost all mainframes and servers. The use of a database of personal computers is also increasing. So most accountants use database to enter data, process that data, querying, or auditing. So accountants control expertise is also needed no, to ensure database integrity. So these are the benefits of the databases. You have the data integration, the data sharing. So in data integration, unlike the flat file approach, all data are combined into a single large storage. So the storage can be accessed by various application programs. So as an example is an employee database that consolidates the payroll, the personnel and job skills master files. So there is already an integration of data. For data sharing, can be easily shared in a database model. It became possible due to the integration of data, and then the database are easily browsed no, to research a problem or obtain detailed information underlying a report. So when user 1 updates data, B, the update can be seen immediately by the other user. So that's part of the advantages. Another advantages of the database approach is minimal data redundancy, data independence, and cross-functional analysis. So there is minimal data redundancy and data inconsistencies because data are usually stored only once. And of course, they are minimized, no, the data redundancy. So data independence because data and the programs are use them are independent of each other. So it can be changed, no? And this facilitate programming and simplify your data management. Cross-functional analysis, since there is already relationships such as association between the selling costs and promotional campaigns. So the preparation of the management reports is easier already because na-integrate na lahat. In a database system, in a database environment, can be broken into 4 primary elements. So we have the users tayo, no? Different users, accounting, finance, HR, every department can be users. We have the DBMS, the database management system, the user interface of the system. We have several DBMS today, the Visual Fox Pro, Visual Basics, SQL, so they are programmed, no, who will manage the application, the user interface, the back end of the system. We have also the database administrator, usually the IT, no? And the physical database, ito yung UI, user interface natin. So, yan. DBMS and the host, and we have the physical database. So, users, this is the first element, no? Which can access the database into different ways. So, they can access the database by using the user application program, yung user interface. Okay? So, the software can be an ERP, spreadsheet, or accounting application, and this program send data access requests, no, call to the data management system, which validate the request and retrieve the data for processing. And they can also access the database using the direct query, no. So, kung application program, they can download the data using Excel, no, using spreadsheet. They can download it, they can get the data through the reports of the ERP application kasi merong mga reports yung software natin. I hope you already downloaded the QuickBooks. No, I give it to you already under the program section of your virtual classroom. Then the second method of the database access is the direct query, which requires no formal user program. So just ask, no, the data administrator. And the other one is kailangan yung query language using SQL. Dapat knowledgeable ka, no, on SQL. So the database management system provides a controlled environment to and prevent the user from accessing and updating the data in the database. So it also helps user efficiently manage the data resources. So this software links the way data are physically stored in the physical database. Of course, there is logical view of the data. In your let us analyze, there is question there, no, logical view and the physical view. When we say logical view, it's on the process of the system, the data flow of the system, while the physical view is more on the particular people, the particular ano pa, records that will flow in the system, the data that are stored physically in the system. The database administrator, siya yung responsible for managing the database. They can also change the physical storage, improve system performance without affecting the user. So usually the IT, the information technology, or the programmer, computer programmer. So they are the database administrator. So functions of DBMS, we have here, the DBMS translate the user logical views into instructions on which data should be retrieved from the database. And of course, there is also the operating system, no, which translated the DBMS request into instruction to physically retrieve data from various storage devices. So, from the database, going to the operating system, going to the DBMS. So, one example of our operating system, the Windows, that's operating system, going to the DBMS, the program, nag-translate siya ng mga instructions. And then, logical view, the users, kikita na, no? Ano yung mga view. So, these are the examples of DBMS, MySQL, Microsoft Access, SQLite, Oracle, and many more. Any kind of program that will handle the database, they are the DBMS. So in the DBMS, we have in the database, we have the data dictionary. So data dictionary is a collection of names, definitions, and attributes about the data elements that the database used or captured. So each data element is stored in the database. There is a record in the dictionary describing it. No, ano yung mga data nga needed, and they are called the metadata. Okay? So meron siyang mga rules, no? For example, the name of the customer should only contain alphabets, and there's a length of 20 characters. So the data dictionary describe. Okay? So it must, no? It must have this data dictionary. This is this is our blueprint of our system. Okay? Here you can maintain, no? The DBMS should maintain the data dictionary, no? What input should be included, what are the new data elements, if there are changes in the data elements, the names, descriptions, or users. Kasi ito yung gagamitin natin in the coding. So kung mali-mali yung mga data natin, say you put the ID number as IDNO. And then you put when you program it in your programming language, different yung name, so mahirapan na on the debugging side. So importante, meron tayong list of our data dictionary. So this is the sample of our data dictionary. So the data element, the description, what length, what field type. So numeric ba, alphanumeric, or etc. So kailangan meron siyang ganoon, no? And dapat may mga name. Meron na. Customer number. Walang ID, no? Pero dapat merong mga ID. What particular ID ito, no? For customer number, so, ano ba yung nilagay mo? COSNAM, or CCN, ana. Para, when it comes to debugging, madali na siya makita. So, the DBMS has several languages. We have the data definition language, the DDL, and we have also the data manipulation language, the DML, and the data query language. So DDL is a programming language within the DBMS that builds the data dictionary, creates the database, describes the logical views for each user. So it specifies the records, the field control. It merely describes the physical database of the DBMS. So data definition language. It defined, no, the physical data. What are the data in the database? That's pare kanina, we have the customer name, the address, etc. The second one is the data manipulation language. This is the programming language that manipulates the database content, including the data element, the creation, updates, insertions, deletion. No? They are the one responsible for the daily operation of the database. So, makikita mo na dito yung mga, if there are addition, subtraction, division, any kind of equation in the data manipulation language. Makikita din dito yung mga if then, the loop, no, mga loopings, no, in the programming, mga if then, while do loop, makikita on the data manipulation language. While the data query language is a high-level language that contains powerful, easy-to-use commands that enables users to retrieve, sort, order, and display data. So reports are, writers use DQL, the data query language, to generate reports like financial statements or top customers. Okay? So using SQL language in Microsoft Access, pwede siya makakreate ng reports for the data query language. So for example, you want to know the highest, the saleable product. So using query language, pwede mo i-minimum, maximum, the greater than, lesser than. So you can create also equation and data query language.